Hi, I'd like to help you out a little bit with your Project 2 game and go over the assignment and the aspects of that assignment that are part of the requirement, and then show you some things in Unity. I'll go over some of the steps that we looked at in our in-class Unity workshop. I won't completely uh, recreate that, but I'll try to go over some of the basic elements and then show you some things about first person and third person character controllers, as well as exactly how to use that load level script, which is one of the requirements. So here we have in our digital narrative theory and practice course site the game project assignment, right? So you are going to make an original game with Unity, but not from scratch, right? So you're going to do something that is original, but by modifying the assets that you've been given, or by changing around some assets or recombining assets. Right. So there are two parts to this assignment. There's the game, and like in all of your projects, a written analysis. That is not a description and is not a summary, but an analysis where you connect theory and practice. Right. So using the concepts from the game design workshop book that we, okay in there, workshop book and class. You can use the myth or tale or legend that you were using for your interactive fiction project as a basis, and that gives you a lot of dramatic elements to work with, like right off the bat. It's like getting a package of dramatic elements delivered to your doorstep, or you could do something else. So here are the requirements. Make a 3D game. So if you want to make a 2D game, you can do that for Project 3. This is an assignment for a 3D game, and that is what is supported here. At least 2 levels. For in Unity, that means 2 scenes that will be connected by the load level script. Right. Have some interesting way that you're going to have your player move from one level to the next using that script provided. In one way, the script works, the script works the same way for everybody. It's something that you're going to put, it's a script you're going to put into a game object, and it will be triggered on collision by either the first person or the third person character controller. You could do it in another way. You could do it with someone throwing a ball, or I mean, there are various more complicated ways you could do it, more advanced ways, but it is going to be on collision enter with by a trigger. But that's not really what I mean. It's like, what is it in the game that makes that happen? Is it reaching a goal? Is it crashing into an object? Is it collecting all the objects and then getting to the end of something? What is it that makes that happen, that you move from one level to the next? Okay, so that's what I want you to be thinking about as a game designer, right? In terms of the design of the game, and both visually, right, and emotionally is some of the ways we want to be always thinking about it, because that connects very strongly to game audio, right, to scoring for video games and to other kinds of game audio. You will choose either first person or third person camera perspective, right? So that's perspective, and think about how that makes a difference to the experience of the game. I'd like you to choose specific elements of game design that you're going to focus your attention. You can't choose everything, right? And you should have an example of your creative design-based choices in each of the following categories. So at least one formal element, at least one dramatic element, and at least one system mechanics. You may end up having 2 or 3 dramatic elements. That's fine, that you talk about as a group. That's all right. In the game you make can be very simple. Remember that the games that you play and the games that you see are made by teams of professionals, and you are experimenting with game design principles, techniques, and that's what this project is. So to have a realistic idea of what your goal is at the end, you're probably not going to come up with something that's ready to go and be deployed in Steam, right? So, just sort of know that, and you'll have I think a kind of a happier time. And it's the design of the game, how you use the elements of game design deliberately, creatively, and cleverly that matters the most, and how you discuss your play-centric approach in your essay. So I'm not going to go over this stuff, but you can read through this here. One thing that I would like you to do in the beginning of your essay is in your first paragraph, state the X of your game. And the X is this concept from Electronic Arts, from EA, that is a way internally that in that company that they talk about the game, the way that they kind of focus themselves. So you make sure that you put that in here because look, it's right here in the assignment. Okay, so that's the stuff for the assignment for us to look at. And now what we're going to do is just go over the list of things that we did here in the Unity workshop in section 2. And so I'm going to quickly go over the workspace and the interface. Make sure you remember to set your layout to 2 to 3 because that's what it looked like in the workshop. And that's how you want to set up your window. How to create game objects and modify them, opening an existing scene, and how to get them from the asset store. I'm not going to show you again how to get them from the asset store. You can ask me if you don't remember how to do that. Characters, I'm going to spend a little bit of time on that, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time on the go to next level script. So with that, let us, to remind you how to do this. So you start off with your Mission 433 folder, which was on that zip file. You've unzipped it to this folder. And if you remember, I was saying that as far as you're concerned for what you want to be touching for this assignment, this project, it's everything that you need is in assets. And the way that I've set up this project, I like to have my scenes in this first level of assets. Some people have a scenes folder. The way that these some of these projects get imported, that I've brought in the ones made by Unity Technologies that we're going to be using for our assets, they have their scenes in other folders. So I just keep the scenes that I'm using for us sort of on this top level of assets. So for us to open, for example, the first scene, DN Level 1 Unity, we double click on the ones that have this Unity cube. That's a scene that you can open. Okay. And just as a quick reminder about some things about the Unity interface and workspace and how to navigate around that. Layouts 2 by 3, right? So I like to make my workspace a little bit bigger. So here we have, if you remember, the scene view, right? And then here's the game view. So in the scene view, and now what I'm doing is in order to move my view around, I use the hand, or if I push now down Option, I get the little eye, and I can do various scrolling around things, zooming, right? But once I go back to the hand, I'm moving around. So let's see, I want to look at this object here, which has that audio file with your mission in it, with your audio instructions. So I've centered myself on that. Now if I want to select it, I use the Move tool, and now I can move it. So in terms of what actually has an effect on your scene, if you want to do no harm, your basic do no harm cursor, it's this, right? Anything else is going to enable you to change whatever is selected. This is going to move, and we can either move, if you remember, either move with the arrows, or we can move with these numbers. Doesn't matter, either way, right? And same thing with rotation, same thing with scale. Rotation and scale, right? There are also some keyboard shortcuts and things you can look up if you prefer to do it this way, but let's just sort of focus on this main thing with using these buttons for right now. Okay, so that's the first thing about what is going on here. And we notice once we have something selected over here, or for that matter over here, right, in our hierarchy, then we get the detailed information about it here in our inspector. The inspector is your best friend in Unity because it's going to tell you not only the information about where something is, but also what kinds of properties it has, right, in terms of physical properties, but also does it have mesh? Does it going to cast shadows? What is the material? Right? What is the material that is on there that makes it look like one thing or another? What is the texture and how does it reflect light or how does it show light? All of those kinds of things, and then whether it has a script on it or not. Right? Here is where we've got a play sound on trigger script. We've got an audio source, rigid body, so if something crashes into it, it'll show that it has physics to it, a box collider with a trigger. So these kinds of things you can find out, oh, where is that audio? Where is that? Oh, here it is. Oh, here's where my script is. Here's where my trigger is. So these are all important pieces of information that I can find out from here. The hierarchy is the list of objects, game objects, that are in this particular scene, that show up in this window. Over here under project, all of these things here are the list of assets that are available to you in your project, not necessarily in this particular game level or game scene. Right. So now
your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to learn about game design concepts by making a game. This is the first step. Go out the door to the hallway. Much knowledge of game design.
So I have a first-person controller. I'm going to get it over here so we can see it.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to learn about game design concepts by making a game. This is the first step. Go out the door to the hallway. Much knowledge of game design awaits you. Collect it all for a score of 31. Good luck. We robots are all rooting for you.
Okay.
It all depends on you.
It all depends on you. Okay, so there we have our mission. We have our instructions. Right? We are in this space. You notice that what happens in here, things that weren't moving before are moving because we've got scripts on them, and they're objects. They're these dynamic objects. These little bots, I've set the way I set this up. The bots can kind of push that capsule controller around.
Should you choose to accept it, is
and
to
also
learn
trigger the
about
audio.
Game design concepts by making a game.
Okay, so this says to the hallway, and let's see if this works. This is where our script is, our load level script, and what happens. Yeah. Okay. So now we see that we are in our second level. We've got a count. I'm going to show the first-person controller here in this window. I'm still in my play mode. I want to remind you of something about play mode. If I make a change during play mode, it will not stick. If you want, so for example, if I decided that I wanted to change one of these pickup cubes and I changed its position, I think, oh, it should really be over here instead. I think fantastic, and I stop hitting play. Actually, if I stop hitting play, I'm going to go back to the first scene. But take my word for it. It's going to pop back. So what you want to do is if you're moving things around while you're in play mode and you realize, oh no, I'm in play mode, I've messed up, and then what you can do is copy the component, and then when you're out of play mode, you can select that object again or just keep it selected, and then you can go back in and you can paste component values and that's the way that you can kind of use your work that you've been able to do while you're in that play mode. So here we are. We've got a different scene. We're in a different scene. We're on a different level, even though it still says DN level 1 Unity. That's because that's where we started and we use that script. And now we move into this where we're picking up these objects, and you can see we've got a graphical user interface, and the count is changing, right, as we go and we pick up these formal elements, some of which you might be choosing to use as your ideas on which to focus, your game elements on which to focus. Just 2 hands. Make this a little bit easier. So outcome, and then we can go into system dynamics over here and formal elements over there. Okay, so I'm going to X out of here. I'm going to go back to my DN level 1 because that was actually the level I was always at. And if I want to edit the level we were just looking at, that would be level 2. And let's see. Let's look at that's this door. Let's look at this door. Whoops. Look at this door. Here's my script, my load new level script. And so what you need to do, let's look at this load new level script. So I'm opening this up in Mono Develop Unity by double clicking just on the thing that said script, and that opens it in Mono Develop, which is the script editor part of Unity. And I can see I've got a JavaScript. I think that's simpler to understand, so I wanted to use it for this for you. You can also use, as I have from, I guess, whatever it was I was looking at a minute ago in when I was looking at this last, also some C# scripts. So we've got function on trigger enter other collider if other game object name equals first person controller. So what this means, and it's all right if you look at that, you go, I don't know what that means. I'm just going to tell you what this means. If the other game object's name, not tag, sometimes things have tag, but this one is name, is first person controller. And what that means is the name of this. Right, so if we put it on Estrella, this character who's just standing around here, and she, and we actually made it so that she was the one, right, if I had her locomotion player script on, and she was the one who was moving around in a controllable way, then she could be the one who triggered this if we were moving her. But in this case, it is our first person controller that is going to be the trigger for that script. Right, and so if I want whatever I put in here, whatever object, if I wanted to have it so that one of these like robot vehicle, one of these robots that's moving around in here, which I think we have some of these robots that move around. Yeah, prop for floorbot female, for example. If I wanted to, I could just, and I do it this way. I actually copy the name exactly so you get all the capitalization, whether it's a, like this underscore thing or a hyphen, whatever it is, I just copy it exactly. And then I would put, if I wanted to switch it, I would put that right into this field and save it, right? Whatever level you want to go to, whatever the name of the level is. So I've actually called the level 2. So it would be level 2. Then you put that in here, you hit save, and that is your script. And that's why that worked, right? So that's how you're going to modify that script that's in this door here. And you can find that script. You can always find anything by looking it up in this search field here in the project view, and you can see that I could now take this and I could make it I could pop it in here. Did I get it in there? Yeah. Okay, so let's see if that worked.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it,
Let's
is
go
to
over here and
learn
see if that
about game
worked.
design concepts by making your
It does. Okay. So that's how simple it is. Once you have that load level script, you tell it where the level is and you have the name of the game object, it's going to work wherever you put it. So there is one thing you need to do that I've already done to make sure that that load level script works, and that is your build settings. File, build settings, and as I say, I've already done this, but we're going to be making a Mac standalone. It's how your project. So this is actually the last thing you're going to do as well. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that you know the current level is in there, and then also whatever level you want to go to. So for example, if I wanted to go to this crowd simulation, I would just drag it in there, and then that becomes one of the levels. And if the level I wanted to go to is crowd simulation, in my script in MonoDevelop, where it said where it said level 2, I would put in crowd simulation instead and then save it, and then it would go. Now, if I wanted if I wanted this object to go to crowd simulation and the one that said to hallway to go to level 2, then I would need to make a copy of that load level script and call it something else like load level crowd. And then I would only change the name in load level crowd to crowd simulation, because when you change that script, it changes all of the instances of that script, right? So that's just one little thing if you're going to end up using that script in different ways. If you want to be able to go to one level and then come back to that first level, that first scene, maybe that's how you want to do it. I don't know. Just wanted to let you know that once you change it, it changes it every place where that script is. Okay, so that's where we are in terms of the load level script and how to do that, and how to create game objects and modify them. Well, let's look at this. There's something called empty scene, something called blank level, just to look. Let's not save that. Let's just keep it. Okay, so this is just a blank level. I hope you maybe remember that I showed you render settings, and this is where you would choose your skybox. You type in skybox so that you can have a choice. Oh, it is overcast today, or oh, it's lovely nighttime. I don't know. I'm going to go with the sunny day, right? And that creates your skybox. And then if you want to create, you can do it from so many places, right? You can create other, you can create a cube. You could create a cube from here. And now I have two cubes. If you want to rename something, just click on it so you don't have a million things, second very special cube, whatever you want to call it, right? Then we can then we can go over here to the materials, or to uh, we can create a new material. So now this is just sort of a plain material. And then once we have a material, we can select a texture, really anything from here. And depending on what the material is, the different shaders are going to make it look different in terms of light. Like self-illuminated is going to make it seem like it has a little bit of light in it. It's going to shine or shine out like that. Okay, so those are some things in terms of creating new objects. You could also go into your prefabs and see the objects that already exist from the different parts of the project, and you just would drag that in. Maybe you want to put this just to start at 0, 0, 0. I'm going to double click on it to show it in my Finder. Double click on it to show it in my Finder. It's below my thing. I'm going to pull back here. I'm going to move it away, and just move it around until I have a place where I actually want it to be. I can't see it because it's not in front of my first-person controller in my game window. There we go. And so now I can do things. Let's say I want this to be a scene where all of a sudden my my person has come into a scene and they are very tiny and all the objects in this world are huge, which is something I've always wanted to build actually, and it would be a fun environment, I think, to make. So now if I hit play, I have my first person controller. I'm going to look around until I find my, oh, I am very tiny. I'm a little mouse creature or something, right? And here's a big weird table thing. And I can't go through it because it's got a box collider on it. All right, okay. So there you go. So that's creating new objects, and we will continue with this, with the last part of this, which has to do with the characters in the next part of this tutorial.